Shapril Preston.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of So You Graduated Now What? I am your host, Shapril. Whether this is your first episode or you've been here since the beginning, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. As you guys can tell by today's title, we're talking about a much dreaded part of life after college. So I've got my laptop here. We're going to go ahead and jump right in because even though this is like a little bit of a hard part to talk about, this is one of my favorite parts because we got to get to the money. We have to get to the money no matter what. So I am really excited to talk about today's topic. I've done a lot of research about it. I can speak from my own experiences, my sisters, my friends, etc. So let's just go ahead and get in, you guys. I'm so excited. So I want to start by saying I am by no means a professional. I have never worked in HR before. So everything I am telling you today either is my opinion or it comes from experience that me or maybe someone I've talked to has went through or experienced. So definitely take it serious, but you can take it with a grain of salt if you want. This is definitely open to discussion, so I would love to have you talk down below and let me know your thoughts, your tips and tricks about finding a job after college. But these are definitely the steps that I took and a lot of people around me took. So let's jump right in. I'm going to break this down into a few steps for you guys. It's very easy, very straight to the point. It may seem like a lot of steps, but if you get a good job, these steps will definitely be worth it and you won't regret it later. So here we go. Step number 1, you want to do thorough research. The moment you decide, okay, it's time for me to start looking for a job post-grad, this is when you want to start your research process. This is the first step into landing your favorite dream ideal job. Number 1, you want to think about where's the company located? Do they have remote or hybrid options? Is that something that you value, that you want? Do they have entry-level roles? If you're coming right out of college and you don't have a lot of experience, then you definitely want to be looking for places who have entry-level roles. On the same topic, you might want to look at jobs that may have a recent college graduate rotational program. That is what I'm in right now. I feel like it's definitely starting to set me up. I've seen a lot of different aspects of the company, of the business itself. So I definitely feel like by the time this rotational program ends, I will be more than equipped to go into whichever role I decide. Then you want to think about typical starting salaries in your field. Always look for companies who are in the range that you want to be in, especially depending on where you may live, etc. But the most important of all of these things is you want to think about what is it that you value and find companies that align with your values. Yes, you're an asset to their team, but the company should be an asset to you, and it should be a reflection of you. Point blank, period. Nothing else. The company that you work for should definitely be a reflection of you. So for me, something that I'm very passionate about, I've talked about it in a couple of episodes, is like biology. And I love, preserving the earth and things like that. So my company, being a company where a lot of our things are made from natural resources, we do a lot of giving back and a lot of replanting trees, and we do community cleanups and we do things like that, which that is something that does mean a lot to me. So that was one of the aspects that I was like, okay, we definitely align there. My company believes in a lot of community service and finding ways to serve the community. That's another way that we align. So find things that you value and find a company who also values those things. You don't want to find yourself working at a company, you think A, B, and C, and they think X, Y, and Z, because every time something happens, that's going to be in your brain. You don't want to have a relationship with your job where it's like, I don't even like what these people have going on. You know what I mean? So always think about those things. So in doing your research, I recommend creating an Excel. This can be of about 10 to 15 target companies. Obviously, you can put them in from favorite to least favorite, most desired to least desired, however you want to do it, and leave notes beside it that you find in the research about maybe what positions they have available. If you do go into an entry level, where could you see yourself going after you've been with the company for a while? Would you have to pivot to another company? Could you move up? Could you move roles? Think about those things in the long run, because essentially, is your first job necessarily probably going to be the job that you end up in 40 years? Probably not, but you may be the one person who it really does. You end up loving your job. So set yourself up for the best case scenario. Like, set yourself up for that. So think about all of that. You'll just use this little Excel or table to organize everything that you find out about the company, the research, everything that you come up with. This is just an organized place to have it. And I actually think, yeah, I could just make one for you guys and it'll be on our page at So You Graduated Now What. You'll be able to access that as of 9/19. So definitely head over to the page because we'll just go ahead and put that together. But essentially, you want to find a company that you are completely aligned with when you are looking. Once you've found all of the companies that you like, that you think you might like, etc., now it's time to start building yourself so that when you start applying, things will already be set up. So I recommend having one resume that has literally everything about you. Now, of course, if you have been extremely involved, this could be like a 5-page resume, which I do not recommend having. I want you to have that 5 or 6, 10-page resume for you. You keep that on your computer and that has all of your things. So then when it's time to start applying, you can create those 1-page resumes and you can just pull. So it's not like you have to keep rethinking, oh, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? You have this long one resume that has everything you've ever done and you can easily just pull from that. Which takes me into my next point. Whenever you decide these are the companies, these are the roles that I'm going to apply for, you need to create a resume that is curated to each role. Does that sound like a lot? Yes, it sounds like a lot. Is that necessary? Yes. You don't want to be, for instance, I was a mass comm major. I don't want to be applying for a job to be a news reporter and everything I talk about or say I don't want to be a sports news reporter, right? And everything I talk about on my resume has nothing to do with reporting nor sports. That makes absolutely no sense. You want to have resumes that make it easy for them to see, yeah, let's go ahead and interview this person because it seems like they already know what we're talking about. They already have this pretty much figured out. Let's get them in here. Got it? Got it. Okay. So once you got your 1-page resume that is curated to every job, start cleaning up your LinkedIn. Make sure that it's precise. Make sure that it's to the point. I could go on and on and on and on about LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I am a LinkedIn junkie. I be at the bar scrolling LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like my Instagram at this point. I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn can seem very overwhelming if you're just coming into it. I didn't make my LinkedIn until probably my senior year of college. And I regret that because I could have been on LinkedIn because it's not as hard as it seems. It seems very overwhelming when you're coming in. But essentially, it's like an online resume or like an Instagram resume. So you can have more things on there. It's not that 1-pager anymore. It's so much more. You can post on there. You can do live updates. It's so much better. And it's so easy to use. It's free. You don't have to worry about anything. So definitely have a good professional headshot. Have things on there that make sense. Also, one of the biggest things I see on LinkedIn that personally I think people could do better is make sure you're quantifying everything that you do. You should be able to say, this is what I did. So let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, you were the activities board president at your school. And you were there from 2023 to 2024. And from 2023 to 2024, you guys hosted 10 events. I mean, that's crazy. I hope you guys will do more than that in a year. Let's say from 2023 to 2024, you guys hosted 100 events. You need to say that. Don't say, I was the president from 2023 to 2024 and we hosted events for students. You need to say, from the school year 2023 to 2024, we hosted 120 events. We hosted 15 events. We hosted a homecoming week that brought back thousands of alumni. Even if you want to be even more specific, that brought back over 10,000 alumni. Be very specific. Because I didn't realize this until literally I was at an interview and I had just done our pageant and I was talking to one of the other women who was interviewing and we were talking about it. And she was like, do you have that on your resume? And I was like, no, not really. And she was like, why? She was like, you've done a lot to coordinate that pageant. So think about things like that. If your organization has like a pageant or like if you helped with maybe the Mr. and Miss pageant at your school, those are things you can use because essentially you took people who may not have ever done a pageant before and you helped get them prepared for a pageant. You put together a pageant, you sold the tickets, you booked it out, et cetera, et cetera. All these things take time. and you're learning these skills now. So always highlight yourself. Always, 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 always highlight yourself. Once you got your resume, your LinkedIn, you need to start cleaning up your social media. Now, if you're lucky and you're not like me, my social media is just Chapril. So you type my name in and you found me. You have literally found me. Maybe, I don't know if your Instagram is something you think is untraceable and you're private, go ahead. But if you're a public Instagram and it's easy to find you, definitely clean up your social media. This is a day and age. It's not the Stone Age anymore. People can easily find you. People do look you up. I remember one time somebody had said something to me about something that was on my Instagram. I used to do press on nails, and they was like, oh, how's your business going? And in my head, I was like, I never told you I had a business. So how do you know that? And I know it had to come from social media because it's not like it was like on my LinkedIn or anything. So I was like, okay. Yeah. So you want to be very aware of what you're doing on social media. This is a time to definitely keep it clean, keep it low key, use that Finsta, use that close friends, use whatever you got to use, but not your real Instagram, because people will look at your Instagram and you never know, that could be your first impression. And if your social media is crazy, can't say I didn't tell you. I literally already told you. Once you've got that clean, so those are your first steps. Do your research, do your resume, do your LinkedIn, clean up your social media. Your next step is going to actually be to start applying for jobs. See how I put that clean up your social media before you even start applying? Because the moment that your name comes across their desk, you want to already be in a good place. You don't want to apply and then go clean your social media. You never know who might have an assistant, who might have an intern or something that they can be like, hey, check this person out for me. You don't want to do that. So always have that clean before. So once you get into applying for jobs, depending on how the application actually works will determine where you go from here. My application process was pretty seamless. We put in an application. They got back to me and said, hey, we want to interview. We went through the interviews. But say you're at a job fair or something like that. They may want to give you an application there, or they may want to interview you on the spot. So you always want to be ready. No matter what you're doing, you always, always, always want to be ready. People usually start hiring early talent pretty early on in the year that they're going to start, and sometimes the year before. So to give an example, when I first started interviewing with the other company that I was going back and forth with, I started that interview process in November of 2022. I wouldn't have started the job until July of 2023. And even with the job that I'm at now, I started my interview process in January of 2023, and it didn't start until July 2023. So the earlier the better, because the thing is, you don't want somebody else's application to go on their desk before yours, and maybe you're more qualified. So you want to have your name already there on the desk. Simple. Now, a nugget here is don't get discouraged if you don't hear back for them or you get rejected. I definitely feel like this is a time where you are going to have to build some tough skin. The job market is crazy. I know it's super hard to find a job right now. So do not feel discouraged. And always, 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 I always say this, try to find a reason why maybe you did not get that job. So yeah, don't find yourself getting discouraged. Now, lucky for you, right now we're in the middle of what's called the September surge. September surge is essentially this idea that over the summer, most companies are pretty chill, they're pretty laid back, but the overall idea is that most people are going to be vacationing in the summer. A lot of people have kids, so they may be out with their kids. It's not a high time to be hiring, bringing in new talent, because if you bring in new talent, you also have to onboard them. It's a lot that goes into bringing on new talent. For instance, think about me. I started my job in July of 2023. They were onboarding their new early talent during that time. So it was no time to bring in someone else that, already wasn't established with the early talent. And outside of all of those factors, usually this is the time when people are going to be looking ahead for what they're going to need. A lot of the time you get in corporate and you'll see you're already thinking about Q1 in Q3 of the year before, or you may be in Q1 thinking of Q4. Like, you think so far in advance, and a lot of companies do this. So now is a great time to be looking at companies, seeing what's coming available, especially now from about September to about November, December. Definitely be looking for those early careers, entry level things, because this is the time. Because in my experience and what I have seen from a lot of other people is most people start interviewing at the top of the year, and most people have their job around February-ish, March. That is why you shouldn't wait until about February or March to start looking for your job, because if I already got the job, how are you going to get the job? Or if Sally already has the job, how are you going to get the job? The job is already got. So don't find yourself waiting too long, and then you'll be missed out on an opportunity that could have been your opportunity. So find a good happy medium somewhere between that October to January to be really, really scouting and really, really looking for something. I think this also just brings you a peace of mind in your senior year. Think about being in February or March and you already have a job secured. Now you don't have to spend the rest of your semester stressing and trying to find it, or God forbid at the very end trying to scramble and find something. So definitely try to prepare yourself. Don't rush yourself, but keep yourself prepared. There is a happy medium between the two. The last and final step to really securing the job that you want is going to be your interview process. This really is the part. If you can get past the application, get them to give you a call back, get an interview, you are already, like, the snowball is already forming. Now you just got to get it all the way there, seal the deal. Simple. So the interview is really where they get to know you, and this is really where you get to shine. I have some tips about what to do in the interview, but always, always, always just be prepared, because you never know what kind of interviewer you're going to get. You never know. It could be you and 3 interviewers. It could be you and a group of people interviewing. So always just be prepared and already have ideas of questions that could pop up, and think about things like that. Here are my tips to having a successful interview. Number 1, I think the first 2 are definitely, the company's not asking for a lot by asking for these 2. So I think this is just common practice to do. Number 1, show up early. That is not a hard one. That's not a question. I am a very much show up early person. So this one kind of, see, I get tongue-tied, because why can't we just show up early? My advice, if you're on a virtual call, maybe 10 minutes early, and if you're in person, about 15 to 20. It just shows that you're here, you're ready. You never know, they may need to pull you in early. You just never really know how things may play out. If you're going somewhere, there could be parking. You don't know, so always be prepared for anything to happen. Number 2, you want to show up looking the role. Whether you just rolled out of bed or not, they should not be able to know that. Very simply put, keep yourself, put yourself together, look cute. This is your time to shine, and be very business forward. Like, I don't know. I feel like being in this generation, sometimes it's like we want to go back and forth about what's business, what's not, what we should do. Show up in a traditional business type of way. You can save your cutesy outfits for later, when you get the job, not when you're trying to get the job, because somebody is going to show up correct. There are a lot of different ways that you can go about this. Some things work for others more than it does. I remember one time I was at a group interview, and one girl wore a pink suit, and to everybody else that looked crazy, but in her mind, the mindset was, I want them to remember me, and I know they're going to remember me because I'm the only one here with a pink suit on. So definitely, think it through, figure it out, and show up as your best self. Point blank, period. Number 3. Now, this one I think is very important, because I feel like a lot of people are starting to lean more and more and more into this. Do your research about the company. You don't know what questions they're going to ask you. And I'll just give you an example. In my interview, one of my questions was, if you had to create an event about X brand, what would the event be? Now, think about that question. That question told them a lot. Number 1, it was going to tell them, could I put together an event? Number 2, how creative would the event be? But the most important part was, did I know the brand? Did I know who the brand's target audience was? And would I be able to tie all of those things together? That really told them a lot of things in one question. It just shows them that you're a little bit more serious than, someone else might be. Also, if you have the opportunity, or you have, you can figure out who you're interviewing with, do a little bit of research on them too. You never know in corporate who's going to end up where. This person may be a VP today and be the CEO tomorrow. They might be an assistant today and the manager tomorrow. Y'all never know how things are going to play out. So you want to make a great impression on this person, know something about them, be able to ask them questions. This all plays a part into you feeling like a part of their team. That's something else that a lot of people think about when they're hiring somebody who is going to mesh well with their team, because some people's teams are more close-knit, and throwing in somebody who is nothing like the team, it throws off the team dynamic. So you want to feel like you can be a part of their team. Number 4, you want to be very articulate in the things you say. Avoid using filler words, like, I guess, things like that. I know that is super hard. I'm sure if we watch this back, I say so a lot. I say so and like a lot. And since I had the podcast, I really have been trying to get out of it. It is difficult, but I don't know if I've done it a lot in this episode, but it is something to get out of. When you say something, say it confidently. They need to know that you mean business and you're here and you know what you're talking about. Next, I want you to always be prepared for that tell me about yourself question. Think about how you want to approach it and stick to that. Different people approach it different ways. I've done research about it to see which way is better. I haven't really found a clear, concise answer. The 2 ways I've seen it answered is more personable and then more professional. I personally like to do a mix of the 2. So I'll tell you a little bit about who I am, but I always find a way to take my relevant experience and bring that to the forefront. Be wary with this because it could hinder you. I'll give you an example. I was interviewing for a company and I had said something about like being a family person, et cetera, et cetera. To give an example of this, I had interviewed for a company and I said something along the lines of being a family person. And I remember at the end, they denied me because they felt like I wouldn't be able to, I was like relocating. So they were basically saying they didn't feel that I would be able to be so far away from my family. Now, you have to take that and kind of interpret that however you want, because I didn't sit on a call and be like, I love my family, blah, 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 blah. I can't be without my family, blah, 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 blah. That's not what I said. I said I was a family person. I was family oriented. But for a company to say, we don't think that you're going to be able to handle the move away from your family, or you're not, because one of the things was like you wouldn't have a lot of time at holidays. So how would you balance the 2? Like going back home to see your family, but like not really being able to take that time off. It was kind of like blackout days or whatever during the holidays. And think about that. In the end, that's not a company I want to work for. If you don't value being with your family and having family time, that's not a company I want to be with. So again, think about all of those things when you get denied somewhere. There's a reason. I would not have wanted to be away from my family. Now, I moved to Chicago, no problems. I have only been back home a couple of times. I didn't need them to tell me I couldn't handle being away from my family because I knew that I could. I already had been away from my family my whole 4 years of college. I rarely went home. Even during COVID, I rarely went home. So I didn't need you to tell me that you didn't think I could be away from my family, because I could. But the fact that you knew you guys have those blackouts, and I don't do the blackout thing. The blackout thing is crazy. If I got the PTO, what DeAndre say? Prepare the others. Prepare the others. Now, let me stop joking and finish this out. Your next step is just be able to have the facts. Simple. If you're talking about yourself, if you're talking about the company, whatever you're talking about, have the facts, be able to talk about it. And from there, be able to ask questions. You don't want to sit on a call, number 1, and say, I don't have any questions. That is insane. You have to have some kind of question, but you should have some kind of question of substance. It should not look like you just thought of the question in the last 10 seconds. So I put together a couple of questions that I like to ask. Number 1, is there anything that I said that you need more clarification on? I started saying that one after the people told me that I couldn't be away from my family. Because if they would have just asked me, I could have told them I've been away from my family for 4 years and I rarely go home. Simple. So you can always ask that question just to make sure that you have crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's. Number 2, you can ask them something along the lines of what makes a candidate a great fit for this role. That way, they're going to tell you exactly what you need and what they're looking for. Simple. We're going to come back to that one, so keep that little nugget in your head. Lastly, people love to talk about themselves. So if you give them the opportunity to talk about their self, come on, baby. That's the bread and butter right there. So ask them questions that'll also help you. So you can ask them something like, what was a moment that you knew this company was the place for you? Especially if it's somebody who's been with the company for like 15 years. Something along those lines of why have you been here for 15 years? Because you want to see what is it that they value. That's what it's showing you. And it's also telling you something good about the company that maybe would keep you there for 15 years. The last thing that I love to do after the interview is all done, I love to send a thank you email. In the email, I'll say something along the lines of, hey, Sarah, just... I'm sorry, guys. I thought that was my HR like recruiter's name, and I was like, I don't want to put her name in here, but that wasn't her name for sure. But you'll say something along the lines of like, hey, Sarah, just wanted to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to interview with you. You always want to refer to something that you guys talked about in the call. So you could say, I love getting to know more about what has kept you at the company, or I loved talking about X, Y, and Z. Talk about something that you guys talked about and always have some kind of call to action. So maybe, I look forward to hearing from you soon. Let me know if there are any other questions, blah, 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 blah. Let me know if I can do more, if you need more clarification on anything, etc. So if you didn't ask the clarification question as your questions, you could put it in your thank you email. I have noticed that a lot of people that I have done this for said that it took me a little bit further than everybody else, because not everybody in this generation is going to do something like that. So definitely let that be something that sets you apart. Once you have finished all of this, the research, the LinkedIn, the resume, the social media cleanup, the interview, etc. Now is the hard part, is waiting to hear back. Of course, if you're anything like me, I literally check, whenever I apply for something, I literally check my email until I either get the acceptance or denial letter. I'm going to check it every 5 seconds. So in this time, you can still be interviewing with other companies. You can be getting feedback. You can compare, etc. This will help you in the long run, because it could lead to you being able to negotiate your salary, negotiate relocation packages, etc. If you are interviewing in a very similar roles or something like that, you could be able to say, hey, I really like you, but this company wants to pay me $4,000 more. Is there any way we can get closer to that? The thing is, a lot of these companies, especially if you're going into a big corporation or something like that, a lot of these companies have the money, and you asking for it, the only thing, the worst part they could say is no. So why would you not ask for it if somebody else is going to give it to you? If one place says 75 and this one says 70, but you really like the 71, try to get them as close to 75 as you can. Simple. Because the whole thing is, it's literally proven that somebody will pay me $75,000. So clearly I am worth $75,000. Simple. Think about things like that. And when it comes to salary negotiation, I don't have much experience in that. I mean, I kind of just went with the flow. You should always have like an idea of what salary you want. If they meet that salary, great. If they don't, try to get them there. This is why, if you're watching and maybe you still have more time in college, you want to try to do internships that are relevant to what you plan on doing. That way you can be like, oh, I have experience. I've done blah, 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 blah. And I think my salary should be more. If you don't have any experience, it's a little bit harder to negotiate a salary because you don't have any experience. So definitely try to get that under your belt. Same with relocation packages. If this company wants to give you a package to relocate, but this one doesn't, but you really like this one, try to be like, hey, I really like you guys, but I want to relocate, but I'm going to have to relocate, and this company is willing to pay for me to relocate. Is there any way we could try to figure something out? That's not always going to work, especially depending on if it's a big company, small company, etc. But always think about those things when you are doing it. And essentially, that is your process to finding a job. Go through those steps, and I'm 90% sure you're going to land some job. Now, let's talk about a couple of other things outside of the process of getting the job. So number one, ways to find jobs. Go to the career fairs. I don't understand why y'all be beefing with career fairs. Go to the career fair. Even if you don't really know what to say, just go. Because more than likely, the recruiters are going to start talking to you. And once you get into your flow, it'll be like, okay, we were talking about that, so maybe I can bring this up with this recruiter, blah, 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 blah. If you go to an HBCU, it's already passed now, but always try to go to the Thurgood Marshall College Fund Leadership Institute if you have the opportunity. That is really kind of what streamlined me into my career that I'm in now. So definitely always, always, always try to go to those career fairs, whether it's in your community, at your school. You never know who knows who. So always meet those people. You never know. You never know. Really never know. And if it's meant for you, by God, some way it's going to happen. Very simple. One of the most important, and I feel like most slept on, is tapping in with alum. People love to say that people from their school work where they work. Simple. If it was me and I was in a room and it was 10 VSU people in there, it's like, yeah, VSU really running this room. It's a school thing, especially if you went to an HBCU, you know how true and deep it runs. So always, always, always tap in with alum, especially like, for instance, at VSU, our business center is very connected, very involved, why would y'all not want to tap in with these people? They've literally been where you were, sat in your seats. Tap in with professors, talk to your professors, let them know your goals. More times than not, professors usually have done something in the field that they teach. So they probably have good connections throughout their field. Talk to your professors. If you're in organizations, talk to people who are also in those organizations. Connections are one of the fastest ways to get you a job, because somebody can easily refer you and be like, hey, you have this job opening and I know this person. People are more likely to listen to people they know than a random stranger. Next, one of the biggest tips is being flexible. Understand that it's okay to maybe not go straight into whatever you have in your head. You might have a $90,000 salary, but unless you have $90,000 experience, it's a little unlikely. It is a little unlikely to go straight into it, depending on your field. I mean, there are a lot of different things, so don't say it's not impossible. I said unlikely. I didn't say impossible. So be a little flexible with things like salary, with the job itself. It may not be the exact job, but what I want to say is never, ever, ever settle. Don't end up a job you don't like. It doesn't have to be your ideal job, but do something that you like or that you're really good at. For instance, to use if you were activities board president, if you really did enjoy making events and creating and curating events, and there is a company, like say it's a hotel, and they need an event curator or an event planner, whatever the case, and you like that and you enjoyed it while you were in college, why not let them pay you to do something that at least you like until you secure what it is that you truly, truly desire? So it's not like you're doing something and it's like, oh, why am I here another day? It's still something you like, and it is great for the moment, and it'll get you to where you need to go. So definitely try to find something that you enjoy. Be okay with things not going exactly how you want it to go. That is one of the biggest things. And understand that we are all on different paths. My path is not going to look like your path. I'm pretty sure your path is not going to look like mine, and ours is not going to look like the next person. It's okay to not go straight into a job. It's okay to not go straight into a salary job. It's okay to not have a career. It is okay. It is going to work out. Just have the plan and continue pushing for the plan. There was a quote, Kerry Washington said it. She was like, you can't pray to catch the bus and then walk for the bus. You have to run for the bus. You have to pray and then run to catch the bus. Because if you miss the bus, then it's not your bus. But if you made the bus, it was your bus. And when she said that, I was like, yeah, that's valid. And you have to do the same thing. Whenever you want something, you pray on it, you work for it. And if it's yours, it's going to happen. And if it don't happen, it's not yours. Period. Y'all heard me? Okay, so let's just run through all of our steps really quick. A couple of pieces of advice, and we're going to be completely done. Here we go. Step 1, you need to do thorough research, find out what jobs you're applying to, what companies, what roles, etc., etc. Number 2, have that resume, have your resume, and have the one for each job that you're applying to. Number 3, update that LinkedIn. 4, clean up that social media. 5, apply to your jobs. 6, interview for those jobs. 7, get the job. Period. It's that simple. And I'm not saying it's simple as in like it's easy, because sometimes it is hard and you do go through 15, 20 interviews to get denied for all of them. But if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen when it is supposed to happen. And it might not be on the time that you think it's going to happen, but it will happen if it's meant to happen. I really do hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that this helped you, that you learned something, that you feel more prepared going into looking for a job. If you have any specific questions, you can comment them below. I'll get back to you. I'll ask my friends. We can see what we can do. Also, if you want that table of ways to organize getting ready for work, remember that'll be available on the 19th over on at So You Graduated Now What. And outside of that, you guys, those are all of my tips. Happy job hunting. I really, really hope that whatever it is you're looking for, you get it, you keep it, and you love it, and it's fulfilling to you. And until next week,